Yo, welcome everybody back to the JV Sports Room. As usual, your host, JDINO, the other half of the team behind the scenes, my man Vince.
Yeah.
Hope everybody had a safe and happy new year. It's a new year, new me, 2023. So back for another one, my man Doyle.
What's up? Thank you for having me back. Holding the whole thing down over here.
Hold it down, my man. We got a lot to talk about, man.
Yeah.
But first off, like I said, it's year to go. So if you're not doing things big this year, if you're not taking clutch shots, if you're not winning huge games this year, I mean, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Right. All right, but we're going to kick it off in the NFL. But before we could get any type of sports or NFL content going, got to send huge support and prayer out to DAMAR HAMLIN.
His family. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, my goodness,
100%.
man. Tragedy. And all we can do is pray for that young man, pray for his well-being,
Yeah.
and hope that he has a speedy recovery.
Speedy recovery, fast recovery, health recovery, and whether he plays again or not, hopefully he's 100% good to go.
Absolutely. Whether the Bills play that game or not is still to be determined.
Still to be determined.
The Bills-Bengals game on Monday night. So we really don't know the actual seeding as far as the Bengals and the Bills right
and
now.
The AFC, and even with the Chiefs in there,
Right.
yeah.
So, but all we could do is talk about the games we do have right now.
Right.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
We'll start it off in the AFC with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Another close one.
Another
Right.
close one.
But another win.
Another one. Hey. And that's what you got to do at this time of the year. You know, you want to win. You want to get the momentum rolling. And Kansas City is going into the playoffs looking really, really good.
Right now, possibly the number one seed. Like I said, still a lot of things to be determined. But tell me how you feel about these Chiefs. Like, do they feel like the division champs right now? Do they feel like the AFC number one seed to you? Do you feel like they could be upset?
I feel like they could be upset. It is a real close, competition between them and the Bills. Both teams looking great. I will say the thing I think that the Chiefs do better than the Bills is play a complete game. They can run the ball better.
Right. Absolutely.
They don't have to rely only on Mahomes.
I love the combination they're getting from Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon in the backfield. Jerick McKinnon has been a fantasy stud about now. He's been taking at least one or two to the house every single game, right?
I mean, it's almost like a career revival for him.
Right. And that boy, Isaiah Pacheco.
Looking great coming out. What was he, 5th round pick, 6th round pick, something like that. So he was a real late draft pick, and he's blooming into a great player right now.
Right. And they obviously have Patty Mahomes, and he, gets it done, does everything. He's got his weapons going.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, like we've mentioned before.
If you don't have Travis Kelce as far as fantasy tight ends going, who you have this year? I mean,
he's number one by far.
Yeah, by far. I mean, Mark Andrews and Darren Waller aren't even scratching what he's doing right now.
Exactly. But as far as the rest of the AFC, kicking it over to the AFC North, since we talked about the Bengals just a little bit, let's talk about the Ravens.
The Ravens, and let's not forget, Steelers are on the bubble right now.
They are. Steelers need a lot of help. They actually need, I think, 2 or 3 teams to lose, and they have to beat Cleveland this week.
Yeah.
So they have small chances, but They can still get in.
Yeah.
But as far as Baltimore, they're limping in at this point in time.
100%.
And whether they have Lamar or not is the biggest factor. And whether they have 100% Lamar,
100%,
is just as big, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about these Baltimore Ravens and Lamar limping into these playoffs?
I mean, you can clearly tell that everything Baltimore either runs through Mark Andrews or through Lamar Jackson. I mean, you had splashes of Devin Duvernay over the course of the season. You've had splashes of Isaiah Likely over the course of the season.
He had a big touchdown this past week.
Weekend. And especially when Mark Andrews went down and you saw him take that leadership starting role there. Right. He played really well. So, that's got to be something that Baltimore's keeping in mind. I don't know why they're not running more 12 and 22-man packages.
Right.
Is Mark Andrews going to be a Raven in a couple of years?
I mean,
question.
Hey, he's a Raven for now.
Yeah,
and
100%.
As long as they got him now, and as long as they got Lamar Jackson, what kind of noise do you think they can make going into these playoffs?
I think they can upset somebody. I think that if they play against Cincinnati, it's a division rival. Whenever you see a division rival in the playoffs, it's a regular season division rival game amped up to 10. So like they're going to come in, they're going to come firing.
Yeah, it could definitely be a division game going into that first round of the playoffs. That we're going to find out because they play each other this week.
Yeah, this week they play one
week
another.
Of the season for them.
Yep, Ravens versus Cincinnati. That'll be an interesting matchup. And then you could be having them play back-to-back. And one's a playoff game, one's a regular season game. I can tell you it's happened before. Happens a bunch with Philly and Dallas.
Right. And the Ravens actually won the game back in week 5, over Cincinnati. It was a close one, and they had Lamar.
Yeah,
so
and
those are obviously a couple factors.
100%.
They got to have Lamar to have any type of real success, man. So if not, then I think Cincy knocks them out next week and then probably knocks them out of the playoffs too.
100%. And you brought up their week 5 matchup, and that was still the beginning of the season, Cincy, where we were all kind of like, what happened to this team? Like, did they all get abducted? Like, what's going on?
Super Bowl hangover we were thinking for them, but they've come back to life.
They've rebounded. So they've got a lot of momentum going. Baltimore doesn't have Lamar. They're kind of floundering at this point.
Right.
Could see it.
Like we said, man, they're limping in. Since he's playing good, that could be a blowout. And if they don't get them, then they'll probably get whoever comes out of the AFC South.
AFC South, right. And that's going to be a fun one to watch too. But the Ravens, I mean, I think they're a team that can upset somebody, but if they make a first-round exit, it's not going to be the most surprising thing. It really entirely depends on Lamar.
Right. It's 100% on Lamar's health. If you get a healthy Lamar and he's not rusty, because he's actually been out for 5 games now?
5 games.
4 or 5 games now?
Yeah, so, I think 5 games.
Is he going to be as accurate as
he normally is mid-season form, late-season form? He should potentially have more energy, but you never know. He's got to be fully healthy.
Right.
And like you said, rust does become a thing. So how well did he do his physical therapy? How well did he go through getting back to being 100% game ready?
And is he conditioned properly? Because if so, there's obviously risk for another injury.
100%.
So, and it's Lamar, and we know he has had plenty of injuries throughout his career.
And that's why he's after that guaranteed contract.
Right, exactly. And since you mentioned it earlier, that AFC South, right? That comes down to one game. I think that's pretty cool. The Tennessee Titans going to Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
How you feel about this game?
I think that the Jags are going to win it. Doug Peterson's a great coach. He's really good with quarterbacks, and you can see that in Trevor Lawrence's progression from last year to this year. Right. Last year, he looked like he was going to be a bust. This year, he's looking like the next guy.
Right.
Young team all around. Defense, young. Offense, young. Every position you look at.
Love what Travis Etienne is doing, right beside him, man.
Yeah, 100%.
We knew them being teammates before.
They were going to have good results. They were going to have good familiarity with them being teammates from before, and that's all you can ask for. That's Doug Peterson's a great coach. Obviously, he brought the first Super Bowl trophy to Philadelphia. So obviously,
couldn't help mention that, huh?
Yeah, but they upset the Cowboys, another great team 2 weeks ago. They're a good team. And I said that when I was last on here when Philly played Jacksonville. And Jacksonville wasn't going to be an easy out.
They weren't going to be a pushover.
And they've really gotten everything together. Everything's working as it should. Tennessee, they don't have a quarterback. They're playing their third string quarterback. They're playing Dobbs.
Although he looked better than Malik Willis, that's all I'll say. Which isn't saying much.
Not much.
But yeah, they're relying on King Henry and their defense at this point in time. And their defense has been suspect as well.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that was their modus operandi past 3 years. I'm not going to say that Tannehill's not a good quarterback. I'm just going to say he's not a great quarterback.
Right. I think he's good enough.
Yeah.
He was good enough to get it done.
Yes.
And not mess up too much while handing the ball off to Derrick Henry.
100%.
And now you get what you get with Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jacksonville's rolling.
Jacksonville's rolling.
Playing good football right now. And those guys are fired up behind Doug Peterson. Young guys, they're resilient.
Resilient.
And that's what I love about those guys.
And they're tenacious. Too.
Actually, maybe we should get Joey on the show next week. He's a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. JM3 owes us a visit. But Jacksonville definitely playing good football right now. And I think they win this one at home. Yep. And whoever ends up coming out of that AFC South, whether it's the Jags or the Titans, they're going to end up having to probably play these Chargers.
Yeah.
Who are the number 1 wild card seed.
Number 1 wild card, the 5th seed overall. They're looking good. Austin Eckler's having amazing games. Amazing.
And they got their receivers back.
They got their receivers
Williams
back.
And Keenan Allen both playing good football going into the playoffs.
And they got healthy at the right time. They got hot at the right time, and they're going in with a lot of momentum. And
don't sleep on their defense.
It's great defense.
Khalil Mack playing great. That was a huge offseason acquisition for them.
Fantastic move, yeah.
And Joey Bosa coming back, finally healthy again.
Yeah.
So you got to watch out for them Chargers.
100%.
They can definitely upset
100%.
somebody in the playoffs as well.
And if they end up playing the Jags and the Titans, either one, I could see them upsetting and the number 4 seed getting knocked out. I'm not going to lie to you.
I can definitely see that. Last division we got to talk about. We talked about the Bills just a little bit.
Yep.
We know they're going to be one of the top seeds.
Yeah.
But the rest of the AFC East right now is pretty much fighting for that 7th spot.
Yeah. And if you were to ask me earlier this year, preseason, I would have told you this was how the AFC East was going to fill out. You knew the Bills were going to be the top dogs. Miami, they were a wild card team. You didn't know if they were going to be really good or if they were just going to be able to get in.
Right.
But you knew, like, depending on how Tua played and how Tyreek played and everything like that, like, they could be Jalen Waddle. They could be a big threat. And they looked great for 4 games this season, undefeated. And then you started to have some injuries with the quarterback, and teams have maybe started to figure you out a little bit.
And right now, we don't even know which quarterback we're getting going into week 18.
No.
It's between Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson.
Yeah,
they've already ruled Tua out.
Tua's out. So,
and they got to go into this week 18 with, unsure of who they have at quarterback going into a division game against the New York Jets.
We're just eliminated, and they themselves have their own quarterback controversy problems going on.
I think Mike White is probably their best option going forward into next season.
100%.
But who is starting for the New York Jets this week?
And they've got a really good supporting cast. Zach Wilson, babyface, beloved your mom. I mean, it is what it is. He can't seem to get it done, and it feels like the Jets are almost becoming like the Cleveland Browns, and when it comes to them searching for their quarterback.
Right.
I mean, how many times did we see the Cleveland Browns take a first-round quarterback in the past 23 years? Dud.
True indeed. So headed into this week 18, you feel confident about Miami pulling it out? I mean, the game is in Miami, and New England has to beat Buffalo as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Miami has good chances. As long as they win, they're in.
Yes. So I think they can get it done simply because of the turmoil that I feel just surrounds the Jets as a whole with that team. So I think it could be very possible that the Dolphins are going to get in there, and then another week, and is Tua back? Is Tua not back? Is he done for the year? Like, are you going to protect him? He's had 3 concussions this year. What do you do now?
I think you have to protect the guy. There's no way you allow him. He's had 3 concussions in 1 season.
Yeah,
like
a lot.
That you're gonna end this guy's career early. You got to sit him down for the year.
Yeah.
That's me personally. But either way, Miami going into the playoffs, they're probably going to see the Bills or the Bengals in the first round. So probably be a first round exit.
First round exit. Speaking about Tua real quick, I mean, I said that to you guys when I was here week 6, week 7. I would have sat him through probably the rest of the season. I mean, 2 back-to-back like that, and then he has a 3rd one later on.
It's tough, man.
It's bad. But they will more than likely end up playing either Cincy or the Bills, another potential division rival game, and the Bills are just steamrolling them.
Yep. And Bengals playing just as good.
Yeah. So they're not looking great there. The AFC is probably less interesting though than the NFC.
Oh, and we already know that's what you're really here for. Right?
I mean, of course.
Philly's in the house. I'm surprised you didn't wear your Philly gear. I mean, you got the green in front of you.
The green in front of me.
JVSPORTSROOM, keep pushing. The Eagles need to keep pushing right now.
They do need to keep pushing.
And they haven't been playing good the last couple of weeks. Obviously, down Jalen Hurts.
100%.
But they're fumbling the bag late. You can't be happy as an Eagles fan, how they're ending their season, right?
Not at all. The Dallas loss was an acceptable loss to me. Gardner Minshew played really well. The only issue was the running back's going to hold on to the ball. Quez Watkins got it ripped right out of his hands on the ground. I mean, you can't give up the ball that much. That being said, to have 3 or more, takeaways from the other team and only win by 6.
Right.
It's not impressive. I mean, with the amount of times you had, short field, it wasn't an impressive thing. So the Dallas game, as much as it sucks, you hate losing to Dallas, right? But that was kind of an acceptable loss.
We'll chalk it up to what I said going into that game. Now, going into the playoffs, if they meet in the playoffs, it'll be a nice story. They played each other, backups, and each team came out on top. But now with
the starters in the playoffs, 100%.
Exactly.
You can't write it any better than that.
Exactly.
But yeah, so the Dallas one was an acceptable loss, although a painful loss. Last week, though, was atrocious.
Yeah, New Orleans.
They can't figure out if they want Teddy, let me throw 1 pick, 1 interception, Bridgewater, or if they want Andy, I've been on 8 teams and I'm probably washed, Dalton.
I think at this point in time, they know their season's done and they're just trying to play spoiler for some teams.
100%. And they came out and they played spoiler against the Eagles.
Right.
Offense was awful. And in the Dallas game, we did lose Lane Johnson, arguably the best right tackle in football.
He's lost. Literally.
He hasn't given up a sack all year. I think he's almost on 2-3 years straight without giving up a sack, which is impressive. Losing him, you now have a big gap on that right side of the field. That's a big loss. That's a loss that not a lot of people want to talk about. Avonte Maddox came back in the Dallas game, went down in the Dallas game.
Right.
When he was back for the Dallas game, he was covering the entire field. There wasn't a play in the first quarter that Avonte Maddox wasn't a part of on defense.
True indeed.
So you lose that there. You're supposed to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back for the Saints game, and you go, okay, well, now we're on 2 backup cornerbacks. We're on Josiah Scott. We're on Reed Blankenship. Right. At least we're going to be able to get CJGJ back.
But they activated him off the IR, so you guys should have him for the playoffs for sure.
Playoffs now, for sure. You're definitely weak in safety, and you got picked apart. And offensively, Gardner Minshew played terribly.
He did. He was what he was, as Bernie would say.
As Bernie would say, he was what he was, and what he was bad.
Yeah, he was bad.
Hopefully, Jalen comes back this week. We play
the G-Man.
We play Big Blue, and
that's a tough obstacle right about now.
Oh, they're a great team. They're a great team, and the one thing that the Eagles did really well the first time we played was defense. We were able to shut down the Giants.
That was a few weeks back, and since you mentioned them, well, let's talk about these G-Men then.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, like you just said, that we have a tough task this week. Well, it could be a tough task if you guys have Jalen.
100%.
If you don't, then I feel pretty confident that my G-Men, pull this one out. We've been playing good football, man. Danny Dimes playing good football.
Great football.
Yeah.
Great football.
He's getting it done in the air now.
Yeah.
I like the young boy, Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah.
And then Richie James.
San
Fran guy has come over to New York and getting it done for us. He's quick.
You can't forget Saquon.
Obviously, Saquon.
But
the weapons that Danny Dimes is starting to find in the air is starting to impress us just as much as his feet.
100%.
2 in the air and 2 on the ground. 91 rushing yards this past week. So
he rushes up there like a Josh Allen would, like a Jalen Hurts would, like a Lamar Jackson would, and he's pretty capable.
You mentioned Josh Allen, and like I said, I'm not comparing him to Josh Allen, saying he's on that level, but who's our coach now?
Brian Dable.
Come on now. You bring that culture over, and guess what? You look what you got. He saw what he could be, right?
100%.
And he's molding him into a better version of
himself. Yeah.
So I like what Danny Dimes is giving us going into these playoffs. Yeah. And obviously, like you said, we got Saquon. So our offense is playing good. Defense is playing just as good. Kayvon Thibodeau is a monster.
Yeah, he's really come alive. Even 5 weeks ago, he was coming alive and he was getting around the edge. It seemed like the game slowed down for him, and he got up to NFL speed.
Exactly.
And it was like a switch, and he just started dominating.
Exactly. And you mentioned NFL speed. That boy Landon Collins came back, got a nice pick 6 for us. Yep. Looking good on the defense right now. G-Men looking good on offense. So I guess we're locked into the 6th seed.
Yeah.
So all we can do is ride this momentum a little more and try to play spoiler to these Eagles right about now.
Yeah, and that was one of the things Brian Daboll said. I mean, he was asked, "Are you going to bench some of your starters?" And he said,
"No way."
Do you know who we're playing?
Absolutely not. So yeah, no way we're laying down for that one. So Eagles could take a loss, and if so,
I got to rely on the Washington Commanders.
Right, to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys could potentially slide into that 1 seed.
Yeah.
Jarvis has been very, very vocal to me about how he thinks they're going to get the 1 seed and how he's a Giants fan this week.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he is.
But Dallas could potentially slide into that 1 seed.
Yep.
They're getting it done, man. No Tony Pollard last week. Hopefully they'll have him, this week or for the playoffs for sure. But CeeDee Lamb, huge game.
Yeah, another huge
Schultz,
game.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, looking great.
Dak looked good last game.
Dak looks better.
Right.
I'm not gonna say he looks good. I'm saying he looks better.
Right.
I mean, there is a reason why he is tied for second in terms of turnovers, interceptions thrown.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's having a little bit of a Jameis Winston season.
He's having a Derek Carr season. Is what he's having.
Oh man, we're not gonna talk about Derek Carr.
But no, I mean, Dallas is formidable. We knew they were going to be a good team. How good they were going to be was a question mark. I think them getting T.Y. Hilton has helped CeeDee Lamb immensely, not only in the wide receivers room, but also on the field. I mean, you can't just say, oh, it's T.Y. Hilton, let's leave him on an island.
Right.
It's T.Y. Hilton. You can't leave him on an island.
He caught a bomb last game.
So that's helped massively. They did lose Leighton Vander Esch, and Michael Parsons has been somewhat suspect.
Yeah, he's
past couple of weeks
down to normal.
He was been a little suspect.
He's usually plays at an elite level, and like you said, a little suspect.
You know what happened? He played Lane Johnson.
Is that what happened?
He still hasn't had a sack against the Eagles.
He tried,
but he still doesn't have one. But no, so they're a formidable team, and then you get to the Washington Commanders, who went back to the Ginger Jesus. They went back to Carson Wentz.
Yep. It's actually one of Jay Money's teams that he said is going to be playing spoiler for the rest of the season as well, man. Those Washington Commanders. Yeah,
I mean, they were eliminated last week, and they can just go in and do what they want, and they're a scary team when there's no pressure on you.
Yeah, they got a lot of young boys over there. Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson playing good for them.
Getting back people like Chase Young.
They're running those guys in.
Yep.
Getting the Predator back is huge too. So, they're out here playing spoiler. Trying to mess up somebody's Sunday or Monday. And actually, since I talked about Jay Money, let's talk about those Niners now.
Yeah.
Right? They're actually second in the NFC behind the Eagles.
They are, and they're a complete team, and they're a team that, I'll be honest with you, if the Eagles don't have Lane Johnson back, we're not beating them.
I'm not gonna lie, as a Giants fan, I don't want to see them in the first round.
No, they're a scary team. Bosa's eaten, Kittle's eaten.
Yeah, man. They're playing great on both sides of the ball.
They made an amazing move getting C-Mac out there.
Oh my God, Christian McCaffrey is playing amazing. 190 total scrimmage yards.
Yeah, in like 2 games. It's
back-to-back games.
Back-to-back games. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. They're an extraordinarily scary team to play.
George Kittle. Yeah. Touchdown after touchdown after touchdown.
Yeah.
He's been a fantasy god as well.
Yeah. He's been having a real good second half of his season.
Absolutely. When that guy's healthy, you mentioned tight ends in the league. He might be second to Travis Kelce.
Yeah. And they seem to have everything kind of worked out with the quarterback right now. Brock Purdy is doing what Tom Brady did. I'm not going to call him Tom Brady yet. I'm not going to say he's at that level. I mean, he's right there with the Kurt Warners and people like that, Tom Brady, who are just...
They were irrelevant and just made themselves relevant, right? Yeah. It came on as a super, super late pick and did what nobody thought they could do.
Yeah.
And how do we feel about these Niners going into the playoffs, though?
I mean, scared. They're probably the only team in the NFC that, as an Eagles fan, I worry about our ability to win over.
I would too. All right, so since you mentioned Brady just a second ago, those BUCS went ahead and beat Carolina last week to clinch their division. Yeah. Clinch the number 4 seed.
Yep.
How do we feel about these BUCS going into the playoffs?
The BUCS what they lack in youth, they make up for in experience, right? They've got Mike Evans, who's probably their youngest player.
I mean, and he won some fantasy weeks this week, man.
100%.
That guy had a monster week.
Yeah,
You
monster
say experience,
week.
man. That guy had 10 catches for 207 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alex, because I know he was a big contributor to you winning your JV Sports Room championship. You know, you didn't make the playoffs this year, Doyle.
I did not.
But appreciate you playing, my man.
Appreciate you.
know,
I'll be back next year.
How did you like the league, though?
It was good. It was fun. It's definitely different when you have 16 teams in a league.
Right.
You really have to know your stuff, and you have to be on it. You have to be on it night one. I mean, your draft when you have a league that deep is immensely important.
Absolutely. And you know, how about the defensive player position?
Oh, defensive player position? It was fun. It was
Unique, right?
It was unique. I got my man Hassan Reddick. I mean,
so you had a pretty good season.
I had a pretty great season. As
far as defensive player.
Yeah, defensive player.
Yeah.
It was good. And speaking of that league, I had Tom Brady in that league.
Yep. He stunk up the joint for most of the season.
Most of the season, it was, do I play Trevor Lawrence this week or do I play Tom Brady this week?
Right. But since you mentioned Brady, and you know, we shouted out Alex for, you know, Mike Evans holding it down for him this week and bringing home the crown. He'll be on the show next week to accept his championship, by the way. But these Bucks going into the playoffs. Greg says every time he's on the show, you can't really count him out.
You can't. And I think a lot of that comes down to that experience. I mean, you do have the GOAT when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady is by far the best quarterback in the league, in the history of the league. And you can never count him out. The amount of times he's gone down the field, won a game in the last minute and a half, I mean, it's immense. So that level of experience, they seem to be grooving together, vibing together. I don't think they're an easy out. I mean, their 8-8 is a deceptive 8-8.
It is because they started to get it going later in the season.
Yeah.
And like we've mentioned before, whenever you got a little momentum going into these playoffs, you know, anything could happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's looking like they could play Dallas in the first round.
Or the Eagles in the first round.
So, and obviously if they play Dallas, I mean, we already know Dallas can't win playoffs.
No. They got what?
I think I'm taking the GOAT in that one.
Oh, I'd take the GOAT in that one easy. I mean, they've had what, 3 playoff wins in the past 25 years?
Right. Dallas coming to Tampa. Yeah. Give me Tampa.
Give me Tampa all
Just
day.
saying.
All day.
But if it's the Eagles, we might have to talk about that one. But Tampa going into these playoffs, can't count them out, man.
No. The one team you can probably count out, though, is the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, are you counting them out?
Here's the thing. If everything holds the way it holds right now, you're locked in the number 6 seed, they're locked in the number 3 seed, you're playing them week 1 in the Dome. Was it 2 weeks ago? You guys lost on a 62-yard field goal? Come on.
You know, that's real respectable coming from an Eagles fan, because I thought I was the only one saying it, that if we play Minnesota in the first round, we're going to take Minnesota out in the first round.
Yeah.
That game was a fluke last week, like you said. The only thing I will say to my G-man is, even though it's a 61-yard field goal, you got to get your hands up still.
100%.
You still have to contest it.
Yeah.
They kind of just watched it, and that is the only takeaway I will, you know, give my G-man from that game. Outside of that, they played great. They played great football.
I'll even argue when you're looking at a 62-yard field goal, you want to get your hands up because that ball has to be low to get the distance. So you have a better chance of being able to knock it down. So you got to get your hands up.
Right. So as a Giants fan, that's my only thing that I will say negative about that game. But as far as the game itself, we had Minnesota beat.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we could beat them in the first round.
I think you could too.
I like that call. And they're looking pretty suspect themselves because they got mollywopped by the Green Bay Packers last week.
Jay Jettas had what, 1 catch, 15 yards?
Man, I mean, shout out to my brother-in-law Corey. Yeah. Oh man, he was super excited about that game. Green Bay Packers
whooped that.
You said it, not me. they beat them, boy. Look, man, 41-3.
Yeah,
I mean, they held Justin Jefferson to 1 catch.
1 catch. Dalvin Cook to like 50
30
yards.
Total yards, I think. I don't know. It was a lot less than
what you expect. Yeah, 100%.
Kirk Cousins turnover after turnover. That Green Bay defense looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers did just enough with his weapons that he's starting to get used to a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about Green Bay going into the last week of the playoffs?
So
they have to win and they're in.
Yeah, they have to win and they're in. They have come on really strong. They seem to have worked out the timing between the young receivers and Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers seems to be liking playing there more than he did in the beginning of the season.
Yep.
Right? He just seems to have a better energy on the field. They are a team that, again, you have some great leadership in Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I mean, he can take them far. I don't think they get past someone like San Fran.
Right.
But I think they can definitely make it through the first round and surprise somebody.
Yeah. And obviously, we mentioned Aaron Rodgers and the defense, but can't talk about Green Bay Packers and not talk about that run game right now. Between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon.
A true two-headed monster. A true two-headed monster. Yeah. Their run game's great. Passing seems to develop. Aaron Rodgers seems to have a pocket that can hold up for him well enough. Defense is looking good.
Another team that Greg mentioned before that, Aaron Rodgers, he somehow finds a way to get into the playoffs.
Somehow finds a way.
And if he's in the playoffs, obviously you can't count him out either.
Yeah, and within that division, who can somehow find a way to make it? Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, that's who they have to beat this week to get in. So
yeah, Detroit has to win. Seattle, who's on the bubble, has to lose.
Right.
And then Detroit gets in. And when Big J and I were here, we told you, or even I told you, this was the year that the Vikings had to lock it down. Right. Because if they didn't lock it down this year, you didn't know what you had in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, but you knew it wasn't going to be down long. Right. And you had Detroit on the come up.
Yep.
And their window was a 1-season window.
Right.
And the way they're looking, they could make a first-round exit.
They could sneak in too.
Yep.
Detroit could sneak in there too. They need to beat Green Bay, and
they need a little help from the Seahawks, and yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of teams locked in, but for some, comes down to 1 week.
1 week.
One game.
That's it.
Should be a good one, man.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an interesting week of football.
Yeah,
that's for
absolutely, man. Playoffs almost here, man.
Playoffs are almost here.
Good luck to your Eagles.
Thank you. Good luck to the G-Men.
My G-Man looking to hold down business this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
That's all the time we got for today, Doyle.
Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely, man. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check us out at sportjv.com. Support the merch, New Year's section. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, mash that button. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And as usual, got a quote for you guys. This time from the GOAT. Since we said it's the year of the GOAT, right?
Year of the GOAT, 23.
From Michael Jordan. I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something. But I can't accept not trying. So like I said earlier, if you're not trying, if you're not giving it your all, if you're not trying to win big games this year, in the year of the GOAT, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Thank you guys for watching.